Welcome back to another session of Unity 3D game development with myself, Michael Trippy, aka Johnny Rush. And in this episode, we're going to get away from the scripting this time around. I decided I was ready to maybe build some kind of interesting area that we could use to interact with. So I decided to come up with, some kind of a mock-up for the main town in this map where our player can go and eventually buy and sell and trade goods and purchase things and rest. And it'd be kind of the main area where when we get to the point where we're saving perpetual data and persisting that data, really not perpetual, persisting the data where you can log back in and pick up where you left off. This would be the area he would need to go to and so anyways, let's do this. Let me zoom up to show you where I'm building this. Okay, one thing I also did was paint using the terrain painter kind of some gravelly road areas on our island that will take you to different areas and at least let the player have an idea. There's something there. If he keeps traveling, he's going to eventually run into an area. So, I plan to have where these little dead ends go. There's going to be something built in that area. From here, I made an area that can come up from here and around, or you can go the long way. And so there's going to be something down here as well. And our original area, I kind of abandoned that for now, but that was just kind of for toying around with building our inventory system. So on this main area up here, though, this big platform, and I may make this bigger, and I might even move it. I don't know, but I'm building it in a way that can be moved if it needs to be. Now, the other thing I also did under the terrain, I modified instead of player spawn, I called it player spawn A and B. So A is right here. B is, if I zoom out, B is our original location. Spawn A is over here on this platform. And so what that allowed me to do, if you see, I've kind of unchecked player spawn B, and I've set up player spawn A. And I attached the script and just put these entries in there. So as we're experimenting, I could hit play here, and I'll be able to just drop this character in at a spawn location. And eventually, we could have a teleporting system, which would teleport the player to certain areas for a price. And you walk up and you teleport. Once you've discovered that area, it becomes available. So he'll just spawn over here so that I'm closer to what I'm actually working on. And so what I decided to do is start building our main town, if you want to call it. And what I did was I downloaded what was called the Mega Fantasy Props Pack. It's a free asset kit from the Unity Asset Store. They have some example scenes, which I haven't even really looked at any of those because I didn't want to overwrite my scene, but they have these models, FBX models, that are available and built in, and they have some prefabs that are categorized, things that they've put together. Like castle walls, if we look at that, there's certain walls. And so I kind of took some of the pieces that they had, and they have this stone half, actually. If you look at this right here, let's expand that out. kind of what I'm using over here. But what I did is I made a wall out of it. Oh, and also when I create a new area, it's going to have an empty game object and to name it. Like location A goes with player spawn A. Uh, location B would be player spawn B. I'm going to redo that other area. We're going to delete that little building we had that we've been playing around with for the last 10 streams or so. We're going to delete that and build a new location there. But anyway, so just to organize it better, know what spawn goes with what location. I created these an empty game object just called location A, and inside that I started building our base. But this wall, 3 doors. Yeah, let's see if we can zoom in here. See, that's basically what I had when I just loaded the game a little while ago, and you saw what it was. I took the model they have with a stone half wall, and I wanted to create an entryway that had like basically 3 entrances, and I took their stone half pillar wall and put little chunks between them and kind of meshed them together. And I created a my own prefab out of their prefabs called wall_3 doors. And instead of putting this in our resources folder, I've created another prefabs folder off our main assets over here. And I've placed the wall 0 doors and wall 3 doors. Actually, the 0 doors is this other chunk of wall you see here. It's made up of 8 of the smaller pillars, wall pillars. 8 of those. It'll give me a chunk of wall with no entryway in it. And so that'll let me quickly drag it into a location and lay them out, and then just position them where I need to, and I can build an outer wall structure here. And so what I was going to have was a well, going back to this prefabs folder, the reason I set this up is these are going to be prefabs that are static, that so when I build, for example, this town, things that are going to be built and not necessarily instantiated. They're going to just be built and placed in the map. I wanted to put those prefabs in this folder. Now, prefabs that I will actually use the resources.load function in the scripting and be scripting it in real time, or when the game is launched and dynamically. Those do need to be placed in the resources folder. So if we look here, like the building, this is something that's instantiated on the fly, which normally you're not going to instantiate a town on the fly unless you're trying to utilize a small space that maybe changes up the environment by going through a portal or something like that, and you can utilize the same small space to kind of do some magic and switch up the map, and the user would never know that it's actually designed on a small footprint. But anyways, like our inventory items, of course, we're spawning those in real time, and the player himself is spawned in real time. So those are going to be kept in resources. Anything that's going to be spawned at runtime will be placed in the resources prefabs subfolder. And anything that's not, that I want to create as a prefab, will go in this other prefab folder. So just wanted to make sure that you knew why I created a separate prefab folder here. All right, so yeah, in this stream, basically what I'm going to be doing is building this outer wall around here. Initially, I was going to have this piece with the 3 entries, the 3 arched entryways. I was going to have it on all 4 sides, so you can enter in any way. But I was kind of kicking around, do I do it just in the front and the back, just have one in the front? But I think it would be good to kind of be able to walk through the town and leave in either direction that you want. Yeah, so I'll probably for now fill that in with an entryway either way, especially during testing here. If it seems like it's too open and there's a reason to make sure the player goes out the front or the back, we can easily switch that to a solid wall. So anyways, I've got it, I believe, centered on either side of this platform. And so, yeah, let me get this lined up here. Let's switch back to our Y view here. That will allow me to see exactly where these are set up. Now, the wall doors, let's see. Yeah, the position is 0, 0, 0, but really that shouldn't be. Because I'm actually moving the Z inside here, which I really don't want to do that. This should be, when you drop this piece in, it should be come to the center of the map, the center of this location A, and then you move it out from there. When I first created this, I set it up over here, and then I saved it as a prefab. So that's kind of where it's all going to show up. But I need to change that real quick here. So the X I'm going to keep the same. I do want the pieces to stay in their X position. I just want to, if we zoom out here, oops, that's too far. I want it to, by default, show up in the middle here, and then I can move it out to where I need to. Now I wrote down the Z value, so I knew in the X 1.34, 0, and 4.5, just to be on the safe side. But what we're going to do is highlight each of these items. And you see the thing that's in common is a Z. We're going to set that to 0. And that saves it right there. So now we'll apply these changes so that they go to, from this object, this instance of this prefab. It'll go back to the prefab. Now let's just check the prefab. We'll click here. Yeah, as we see, that's all zeroed out. And then our individual pieces. Let's do this. Or also the Z's are zeroed out, but it maintained the X's is what I want. So because they're going to be adjacent to each other in a row to form that wall. So okay, so that's good. Now what we can do then is in our wall 3 door, in its transform, which is this is the empty game object, and I just named it wall underscore 3 doors. That's what actually contains the individual pieces. So we would want to relocate here. We're going to relocate this to 4.5 is what we said. That'll get us to where we want. All right, so and we can also do the same with these, since we know we want them all at 4.5. Door 2, 4.5. I just roughly pulled them over there. All right, so let's zoom in. So those should be lined up, as far as their Z component goes. Now the X obviously is going to be off, so what we need to do is get to a position where we can really see closely here. And let's zoom out a little bit just so we can see that. Grab that handle. We'll get it as close as we can by eye without really going over there. And then we can tweak it. We see that let's really zoom in there. We can see that negative 2.5 is where it's at. So if we do 2.4, that's may have overlapped a little bit. I like to back it off to halfway. It was at negative 215, so I'll go 2, 3, oops, 4, 5 actually. Yeah, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1. It almost looks like actually 2.14 was in fact the number, because if we click away from this, you can see that black line. There's a slight little gap, so it looked like 214 was in fact the magic number, I think. Yeah, so that seams it up. Now these, even though they have the same texture, you can tell it doesn't quite, they didn't make them too well to overlap. So now what we could do, you see how this, we can look at the brick colors. We see, if we really want to line this up, we can see how these bricks look. Now this top part probably won't matter. We really need to be looking at the side, but I assume this up like this, and let's zoom in here. Actually, let's just move it, slide it over. So we're going to be looking at these bricks. I don't really see I don't really see where these even mesh up. So when they did this texture, they obviously didn't think this through too well. I mean, it looks fine. It wraps around the object. If I were to separate these walls, I believe that brick wraps around. But when you're trying to take the pieces and mesh them together, it doesn't look too well. So there's no sense even trying to readjust that and mesh it together. So I would overlap it a portion if I knew I could line up these textures where it appeared to be one seamless thing. So what we'll probably do, if we really wanted to take care of that, we could have like a what I call a trim of some sort that dresses up the wall. Maybe it's an inlay, for example. If you think of inlay in woodwork, we could have an inlay, a line, a vertical, elaborate piece that maybe like some wrought iron looking stuff that matches this theme. That could cover up here. Maybe would have some lights, lampposts or lights that would show up. That'd be a way to cover that up. But for what we're doing here, I'm not going to worry about it too much. At first glance, when you're running through, I mean, you really can't tell that much. So anyways, so we've got it all lined up. Let's check the other side now. Let's hit the Y view again. And let's slide over here to this side. So we're going to do the same. We're going to move this wall over. And this is that one. And so we need to position that. 6, 6, 5 is actually overlapping too far. 2, 5, 5, 2, 5, 4 probably. 4, 5, yeah. So 4, 4, 3. Again, it's probably, I've noticed that these have been magically working out to an even number. Like it's probably 2, 5, 4, but I'm just double checking because I don't really like to have too many things overlapped. Although a little overlap probably wouldn't hurt, just so you don't accidentally, when it's rendering and doing a 3D rendering, that sometimes you'll see a seam or something will flicker because there's that slight gap, and it could be an issue. I may have to readjust these later, but let's see, 1, 0. Yeah, so that seems to look okay. I mean, that's really just meshed right up on it. Couldn't have asked for it any better. And again, the bricks don't match up. But that's fine. I'm not worried about it. Although, see, now this one almost looks like here and here. Yeah, actually the top is what matches. That's what it is. Because I could have slid that over here and it would have been perfect, but this is not the top. I think they applied their texture wrong from the original model. Anyway, there's nothing I can do on that except do my own models, which I'm not going to do right now. It's easier to take this. Okay, so we have a nice little wall here, and I didn't know how far that would stretch across there. We have a little more room left. I don't really want to go. I don't have any other pieces made. I'm just going to do it kind of somewhat small. So we'll do a, what I want to see is if they have some kind of, let's look at the fantasy pack again, castle walls. I'd like to put something in the corners, that kind of make it unique at each corner, like somewhat of a tower or something different. So they have, this looks like a corner piece right here, actually. Yeah, it does. Yeah, those I could have dressed up on the outside. Anyways, can we rotate that? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, something a little different. Yeah, so we'll use that as a corner piece. So, okay, so that's this one here. Now let's look at short. What's short? Oh, cool. They got somewhat little knobbies on top. It's kind of nice. So I could have did something like that in place of those walls, but see what we have here under towers. So apparently there's a thing to create your own towers. You got some curved pieces here. Just have to decide how you want to make it a platform. And what's nice about these that I see is they already have a mesh collider attached. So you should be able to walk right on that as long as it's set, the layer set to default on these. So the player should be able to, with stairs set up, should potentially be able to walk right on that right out of the box. So stairs, let's see what we have. All right, nice. We got a stairwell there. That's nice. Yeah, so maybe we could build like a tower in the corners. That'd be kind of cool. Or maybe just a center tower somewhere. Maybe in our original location, we'll build like a tower of some sort, like a lighthouse or some kind of tower. You climb up and go into. Windows, let's see. So these are pieces that have windows, little cutouts, nice, different kinds. So it really is a great kit. There was something like 240 pieces, prefabs that were in this, and it's not just castle walls. I mean, they had, chairs, like different kinds of chairs, and props you can include. Now this is kind of low poly stuff. They consider it low poly, but for what we're doing here, I think it's going to be perfectly fine. Different kind of columns, gate, stone. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Complex prefabs. Now they have barrel sets that just for looks, if you want to drop them out there. We could have some of that stuff at the front here, just sitting as you approach. And they have fences. I think that actually would make it good. I was trying to, because I didn't like the way, if you look the way this is set up, I didn't like the way there's no blending over here. You've got a discrete, square platform here that I'm building this on, and you got the terrain grass under there, and but it'd be nice to have, maybe a picket fence that lines up right on the edge of this outer area, and it at least gives it, a little bit more, like it's enclosed, you really can't tell. So I might do that on the edges. But let's get this wall up. And I think I'll go ahead and put the 3 entryways on all 4 sides. So, okay, so now that we have that, we could really just take what we've created here, create a prefab out of that, and we'll create the other wall on the other side. We could do that real easy here. So I think we're actually going to do that. Okay, so location A, we got our base, which was actually this. I need to combine this into its own game object. So let's click on the base. We're going to do create empty. And let's call this, it's going to be a wall. We'll call it 3 doors. We'll add something to the end of it to identify it. We'll just say maybe complete. Or should we call it like short, and then we'll do like a, because the other way it looks like it's going to need to be longer. So we'll have to create like a longer version of that. So maybe we'll just call this short. All right. And then what we can do is grab, make sure our positions are 0. And we might need to adjust a few things once we throw it in there. Let's do that and drag these and put these in here. And again, I think we're getting I need to zero these out again, the Z's. Let's see. Actually, it's just these 3. I'm going to set the Z to 0. Okay, and then let's just drag this now as a prefab, and we'll drop it in here. Great, so now we have our wall 0 doors, 3 doors, and a wall 3 door we call short. And so we can set the Z here to 4.5. That'll put that back. But now if we drag another one of these, and I notice if I drop it into, watch when I drop it directly into the scene. You're supposed to be able to do that with objects. But for whatever reason, you see how small it looks? So I can't do that. If I drop it into the base, though, it retains the original size. I don't know what's causing that. Why it doesn't, why it matters, and I'm assuming it's scaling it by world space as opposed to its parent container when I drop it in the base. I mean, it's probably what it is. It's probably something I'm doing and creating. But anyways, it works when you drop it into the hierarchy. So I just need to remember to do that to keep it the same. So now I'm going to do a negative 4.5. Yeah, that puts it perfect where I need it to. Okay, so now let's grab in 2 more of these. So this wall, I guess I was going to name it north, south, east, west, but I don't know. It's really just dependent upon when the player drops in. That becomes his compass, his direction. Need to formalize this some way. Have north pointing a certain direction at all times. All right, so anyways, let's modify this one. We're gonna set the X to 4.5, and then we're gonna rotate it on its Y by 90. And so same with this one. Do the X negative 5, and then we'll rotate it 90. Whoops. And the Y. See what happens when you put it in the wrong. All right, so we have something that's starting to build up here. And I'm going to rename this base as Main Town. Well, let's do this. Let's call it Traders Village. really where all the stuff's going to occur. All right, so we've got these empty spaces in the corner. And so what I want to do is look at those corner pieces, but I also am not exactly sure. Well, let's look through. I really didn't look through everything that they had here. Let's see what they have storage. What is storage? Okay, those got like a chest. Hey, there's a thing we could maybe implement. A little chest. Find a chest, you get gold. Let's see, wall support, walls. Various kind of walls, sloped doors. Big doors, walls. Apparently they already made some stuff. I didn't realize that. See, I didn't look through all this. Wood walls. Columns. That's kind of what I'm... See what we have in houses. So I guess they took some of those shapes they had and they've just made some wooden houses out of the prefabs. Just to give a few things here. They're set up. Miscellaneous. Okay, let's see what we have in miscellaneous. Got barrels, beds, books, bricks, bridges. Whoops, I missed bridges. Bridges, that's kind of neat. Just look at this piece here. So you got a half piece, got a longer piece, some kind of column, stone bridge. I guess you can... Of course, you can adjust the rotation on any of these anyway, so they don't really need to provide all those variations, but you can use that as the bridge part. Okay. There's a bridge piece that would stick off. If you got like a drop, a moat, like on a castle, and then you have a drawbridge that would come down and mesh with that. So it has some, definitely some things that are useful here. Looks like we might have to build our own tower here in the corner. And or do we just build a wall? I'm trying to debate on this. What exactly are we going to do? We take one of our walls and put it diagonal, you know. Okay, while we're deciding that, let's figure out what we're going to do for this. So let's investigate these tower pieces a little bit more. See exactly what we could build with these. So let's just kind of poke through all these. So we got just says tower. I don't know, that's tower 7. It's just a shorter piece. tower, I guess, broken, sort of. Destroyed. Tower enter. Okay, so we got an entrance there. So let's see if I want to see if I drag this piece in, because I had to resize some of these before. If I just drop it into Trader's Village here. Yeah, you can see how massive these things are. So what I've found is that, and I don't know why other pieces are doing this, to be honest with you. It's like their normalization is off or something. Something's not right in the model. Anyways, the Y is actually fine because the height is actually fine in these. It's the X and the scale and the X and Z. If I put them to 0.1 in the X and 0.1 in the Z, you'll see it actually, if we zoom in, the textures look fine. It looks like what it should be. I kind of realized that when I was playing around before. Yeah, so so let's do this. Let's add an empty game object, create empty. And we're not going to necessarily create a tower. I think what we're going to do is create these little corner rooms that you can walk into. And each corner will have a certain room, and maybe it'll have like a different, I don't know, different something. I don't know if it's going to be a merchant or something, but it'll be a special room you can walk into. Maybe it'll be certain goods in there. It'll be in each corner, 4 different corners. Let's call this we'll call it shop. It's going to be a shop. We'll just call it round. It's a round shop. All right, and so let's drop that in here. You also notice that when I scaled it up, if we hit the Y here, let's go to Y, view from up top, it did drop it directly in the center of the scene. When it was scaled up the wrong way, it like threw it way out. So that'll be perfect. So we can do that. And now let's do I don't know if this is going to be too tall or not. Let's just drop it in and see what happens. Because we did the tower enter, right? So let's drop this in. Again, let's set the X and the Z to 0.1. And then let's rotate this on the Y 180. All right. And then let's kind of zoom in and take a look at that. Yeah, so they're about the same height. I'm thinking if we take 2 more of these, we might be able to put one on this side, one on that side, and make it perfectly round. So let's duplicate 2 of these. Let's rotate this like 90 and see what happens. And then rotate this one negative 90. say 270. Either way. Yeah, so that, I think it worked out. I think it actually did exactly what I wanted it to do. It's nice. So now let's get a rooftop on here. I think to make it interesting, we can just kind of see and look. Maybe we'll add a stairwell around there, but this is a tower floor. Yeah, so they have a floor. Tower floor small. It's got the edge. It's more like for a rooftop. Have that lip like that. All right, so let's try this one. I kind of like this one. Let's bring that in. Let's drop it in there. Okay, and then we're gonna do control 2, 3, 4 of those. I'm gonna highlight all 4, and on the scale we're gonna do 0.1, 0.1. And that may be too small, so we're gonna have to change those to 0.2, 0.2. I think 0.15 seems to kind of fit the bill. And that's okay. And so that's that piece. And now let's start rotating. Let's rotate this one. I don't like having those. If you look real close, it looks like it's negative 1.907, but if you arrow over, it's a really small number, e to the negative 6 power or whatever. I don't like that. So I'm just gonna 0, 0, 0, 0 those out. Okay, so that's our first piece there. And then our second piece, we want to do a rotation in the Y to 90. Doesn't look like they're going to mesh up pretty well when we do this. What are they thinking when they made this stuff? Seriously. Why not just make a circular piece? And apply? That may be what we'll need to do, because this doesn't make sense, actually. Some of these. How do you make a floor that doesn't mesh together in the same direction? You see that? Let's try something here on this second one. On the, I'm thinking it's the X, I don't know. I'm going to rotate 180. Yep. Yeah, so that's not going to work out for us, I don't think. Unfortunately, it's not. Just don't make sense there. So let's delete these 4. And I believe they provide the textures here. Cobblestone, dirt. So yeah, there's apparently some textures quite a few actually. Yeah, there's the stone walls, timber. Yeah, so they provide all these textures here. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's just do a primitive. Uh, 3D object. And we're going to do the, I guess the cylinder. Let's just call this tower base. Well, we'll call it floor. We don't want to get the tower floor. And so we want to, first of all, scale that up in the X. Let's go 1.15 maybe. Let's see, 1.5. Okay, so that'll give us that. Now let's go to the Z. Let's see if we can rotate around this thing. Yeah. So the cylinder is just that. It's just a cylinder, and it has obviously some depth to it, or the height. So that's going to be too high. So we're going to change that to 0.1. Alright, and then we're trying to get this as close to the size of our thing. Yeah, we'll get it. So yeah, I might go just a tad out, give it some little look here. 1.7. So yeah, we're out a little bit, and then we'll decrease the size. 0.5. To really thin. We don't really need it that thin. Then we can apply a texture to that. If we look at the mesh rendering, the default material here, so we want to change that actually. Let's see, we have all these different materials we can choose. So I was looking for something, let's do a search on cobble. Let's see what comes up. That's the cobblestone wall. I don't know, that might be too dark. I don't know if I want to go with that. Maybe something white. Let's see. Wooden boards, maybe even like a wooden texture. The base of the floor, maybe. Yeah, maybe we'll go with that. It's got a nice lighter color to it. But I think I want to go ahead and reduce the size of that floor. I don't like the wood the way it protrudes out. So let's change that to 1.6. We might even have to go like 5.9 to make sure. Just to make sure it's not showing through the brick down here. If you see that, so we might even, let's not even play around here. Let's go 5.5, 1.55. All right, so it's inset in there a little bit. That's fine. In the entryway, we got our wood. I think it looks okay. It's not stretched or anything, but I still want to add a rooftop to that. And so what we can do is our rooftop's going to be, we'll Control D that, copy that. Let's make that ceiling. Let's raise it up. The position, the Y position. Okay, the Y position, we're going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six looks like the number. And this one we are going to leave a little thickness here. And we also want to make it a little bit bigger. So we're going to scale it to 7. See, we get a little edge hanging over there. Like that. We want to change the material. We obviously want a wood roof. So we'll go, oops, not here. We'll go here. And just see if we can. Kind of want to find something concrete-like, but I don't know if I want it that textured. You know, maybe something more of somewhat of a solid color granite. Oh, wow, that actually, I think it shines light through too. Nice stained glass reflective. That's cool. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like the clay look. Let's see. You can see some of these textures are just the ones for the 3D model, so you can't really use them here. I wish it would. You could filter by textures that are. I guess they're all textures of texture. It doesn't really know. No concrete. Okay. Oops. Stone. So those are the only stone ones we have. So we can do something like that. Something like that. Cobblestone. Okay, that's what we have for a floor. Maybe we can do a different kind of wood for the rooftop, maybe. Maybe we'll go with that. I kind of like that dark one, actually. Yeah, dark wood. Let's go with that for now. So let's do this. Let's just walk in and take a look at it. Let's run this. Get a better view of it when we're actually inside here. Okay. So even though they did a model that I don't know, but a model that has an entryway, it probably has a mesh collider that goes all the way around. So there's an invisible mesh collider here. That is stupid. Okay. What's the sense of making that if you can't get in? Okay. Alright, so let's do this. The reason I've been hitting inventory before I exit is it stops the mouse movement and I can exit out quicker. So let's take a look at these pieces and see what we have. The entry is really what we're looking at. It has a filter, mesh filter, enter. Hmm. It has a mesh collider, convex. Okay, so there it is. So let's take a look at this. I'm gonna look through some of these settings and we'll figure out if we can eliminate some of those or make it where we can do a cutout. I know there are ways to do a cutout. I don't know. Let's out of curiosity, let's just run that, access that, see. I'm just curious about turning into convex. Does it alter? It almost looked like he's going to go in. So for the enter, we'd probably have to turn off the mesh collider. We have to do a custom mesh for that. What I don't understand is they have it set for their these little entryways. They had the arched entryways. It's working fine. No, still not allowing it. Maybe that's not it. What are we missing here? Let's go to the floor. Oh, wait a minute. What are these rings? When I hit the floor, you see these rings? It has a capsule collider. That's probably what's going on here. Let's turn that off. Yeah, see how those lines go away? The capsule collider was too high. I could, for a cylinder, that's what they use by default, but we don't necessarily need a capsule collider on the floor. It's so thin too that well, we'll see what happens here. Sometimes, like I said, this character will freak out if I don't. I think I've got the layer set right default, so yep, still not it. That could be part of the issue, though. Let's turn off this collider. Let's look at our floor also and make sure. What about our ceiling? Oh, our ceiling has one too. A capsule collider. Which we're going to have to fix that because we do want a collider on there, but I think it's going to need something a little bit different. We might just have to resize our capsule collider to match the height. There we go. So now we ran right in. Okay, all the walls work. Boom. Of course, we ran through that wall because we turned it off. So let's go back and turn on the mesh collider for the entry. And to play. Let's do this also. I didn't mean to run that. What I want to do is move this player spawn into the center there, since we are going to be working in that area. I got little kittens crawling all over me right now, and they're digging their little nails into me, so they don't realize that hurts when you got five nails in each paw. So that's a total of 10 plus their bottom feet. That's 20 climbing up your leg. It's like 20 little needles going in your leg. Alright, so yeah, what we're going to do is just change that player spawn location. Set where we can see. And so where I want it to be is, we'll just move the, hopefully I just moved the Y. I think that's all I moved. Alright, so now I have a kitten on my shoulder. Let me just deal with this real quick. Alright, so yeah, we're going to move that. Let's see. That's our Z. Let's go right here. So I think I sort of can't really tell if he's in there or not. Let's hit play and see what happens. I want him to show up in the center of that area, but that's fine if it doesn't. Yeah, he does. Okay. So we put that collider back on, so we're good there. We can still go out the entrance. So that's all it was. Now, like I said, the ceiling's going to have its collider. But we need to adjust that. The radius is good. It's set to the correct radius because it's sized up when I rescaled up, but the height is just too big. Let's see. Did that work? Did it change it? Alright, so it's not really changing for some reason. So maybe, am I on the right one? Let's see, capsule collider. Still got something outlined there. Okay. So it looks like it's as low as it possibly can go. So 0.5 is where it was at. Let's see if what other colliders do we have for physics? Probably need a sphere collider here, not a capsule. Although we may run into the same issue. Or do we need a mesh collider? That's probably... So if we turn that off, now we have mesh collider. Okay, so it is picking up. It creates a collider based off the mesh, which is what we want. Convex. Okay. All right, so this capsule collider, I think we're going to remove that. Same with our floor. We're going to add to our floor physics mesh collider. Okay, so we have a round shop. Wonderful. Or a shop-like area. Let's put it that way. Let's test it to make sure it's still working. Okay, still running in there. That's good. He can run out. Can he run back in? Yeah. I noticed my frames have dropped down too. Again, I didn't look to see what they were when we started. But when I started adding these structures, and I noticed this before, that the frame rate really drops when you start throwing in objects. You know, in there. So I need to see what's going on and research that once we build this. We'll see what the frames drop down to. And I'll also test it off stream. If it runs at 60 frames off stream, then it's probably just because I'm streaming right now. 34 is enough to be able to run around here and move around. All right, so we have our floor set up. Actually, the floor kind of makes it look like he's a miniature player, a miniature in here. Almost looks like a giant area. So what I want to do is change the, really that does too. I think we can change the scaling of the tiles. So if we look at the floor, well, actually we can see the ceiling better right now. So let's look at that. When we look at our wood, there's this tiling factor here down there. Right now it's set to 1, but I think we do 0.5. I don't know if you can notice the difference there or not. I think I meant to go up 2 by 2. Let's do that on the floor so that we can actually see. Let's kind of just zoom in here. Okay, so that's what the way it is right now by default. So if we change this to a 2 by 2, yeah, it does get a better tiling effect. So 3. Let's do a 3 by 3 on that, and we'll also change the ceiling as well. And run that. Let's see what that looks like. Because the wood planks look so much bigger than, they should be. I think that's better. Still not the best. These planks still look wider than him. That's like some boards are. So So on our floor here, let's do 5 by 5. Oops. So it really starts to get where it's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to look. Let's just run that. I'm just curious what that effect looks like. Because if you can see the tiling effect, the stripes of the rows, we don't want that. I don't know. It don't look too bad, actually, to be honest with you. Let's go 25 by 25. I don't know. Guess it looks alright. It just looks, I guess the way they made it, it looks riveted, like rows, you can tell, but let's go back to what we had, the 5 by 5. That you can clearly see. That's what it is. They have these boards that are, these knots in it. They look like rivets when you go towel it too much. It's probably all right there. I mean, it's better than what it was. I don't want to towel too much. I don't know how much overhead that takes. All right, so yeah, we'll leave it at the 5 and 5. I think is what we already had, so that's good. All right, so we have our shop round. Let's drag it to our prefabs folder. So let's zoom out of here. Let's just kind of drag this to one of the corners and see how it sits. So your entrance is down there. So so we don't have to rotate this thing. I'm going to move it to this corner here because the entryway is on this side. The size actually looks pretty good to fill this in. If I say the entryway was there, which side is the entryway on? It's over there. So, yeah. So what we want to do is move this thing down here. I guess it really don't matter. We can do a rotation. Let's stop screwing around with this. So let's do that. Let's just rotate this thing. Rotation on the Y by 90. Let's see what happens. Okay, minus 90 looks okay. And then forward a little bit. Kind of would like to scale the whole thing up just a tad. Yes, I'd like to scale it up where the walls actually, you don't have that gap in there. And I'd almost like to have these a little higher. But I think for now that probably will do. Okay, we can't really get through there. We can see through it though. And so I think if we scale up the entire object, 0.1, 1, and 1.1. I don't know how much of a stretch that's going to do, if it's going to look good or not. You may just want to build a secondary wall that makes that higher. All right, let's do this. Yeah, so that's more like what I want. I want it to be closed off and closed. Just want to make sure the walls are not sticking out though through here. Do we see any walls coming through? No. That's probably okay. Yeah, so we got a nice seam there. A nice seam there. So that's kind of what I wanted. And, okay, so let's do this. I'm not going to save that back to the original because that's the original unscaled version. But what I will do, is take the shop and now we'll, 1, 2, 3, 3 of those. Go to our Y, zoom out. So, let's see what we have here. Position that's at 4.2, 20, 3.9. Let's just make it 4. Just I wanted to have some even numbers, easier to work with. Okay, so we'll do that, and then slide back up. Okay, so then we'll move this one. It's going to be zeroed out. And this would be negative 4.00. I think. I don't know. Let's go back to the first one. 4.2 and 4. Yeah, so why didn't it? Maybe that's right. It just had to be put the values in wrong. And then we have to rotate this thing though. To 90. So we get that. Yeah. So now this one. 0. Two. Let's take a look at this one again. I don't know why. Yeah, it didn't quite match up right. So X should have been Z was correct on that, but the X for some reason. Negative 3.8. if that's showing through or not. So the inside look, okay, I didn't really look at the other one. Let's go back there. Yeah, so from the outside you can see it's not quite messed up, right? It's because it's a square piece and it's around a, you know, curved wall, so. All right, so we're gonna leave it like that for now. We'll just not worry about that. We'll just make it look good. Um, so let's rotate out of here. So we're gonna rotate this one. Oops, that was the Y. 180. There we go. And then let's bring in our Z to 4.1. Maybe. I think the reason it's not lining up, the gap is not the same. More likely. Let's see. Let's remove our ceiling out of the picture here and look from the top. And let's see what we have here. Yeah, so let's see if we can finagle it. I don't really want to scale it up, but it looks like I might have to just. Let's do the whole shop here. Let's move that around. I mean, the bottom line, I think I will probably have to scale it just a little bit to make it fit nice. I don't know, maybe that's okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think I found the just a hair off. All right, let's just see how that looks there in that corner. Yeah, still a little gap. I can see the gaps. So let me just resize that. Just have to resize it a little bit, scale it up. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. I could be fooling around with this too long. This again, this is just a mock-up game. This isn't anything. It's going to the market. So let's scale up to 5, 1.15. That should be enough, I think. We might just have to do 1.20 and be done with it. All right, so I think that's going to be okay. Yeah. I don't see anything poking through. I don't see that corner poking through. So we're good there. We can put the ceiling back on that one. And then, okay, let's go to our last one, which we need to move it. So it's X -4. Okay, -4. Okay, so that gets that one in the corner. That one seemed to mess right up. I don't know why. Why it was such an issue on that one corner. Okay, so this is the one we added here. Just want to make sure these walls are not poking through. Looks like we got a nice seal here. Nothing's poking through. Yeah, this one's poking through, so a lot, as a matter of fact. Alright, so let's do this. This one, looks like we had problems with the opposite corner. Something's kind of off, but we'll have to scale this down. Let's remove the ceiling temporarily so we can see where our alignment issue is. And let's move this. Oops. I'm going to move the entire shop around. So this This one looks like it's going to somewhat hang over, which we don't really want that. Kind of look at these other ones. I really didn't look to see the overhang. How far are they overhanging? It's a little bit outside the yard, but that's, I'll tell you what, this is what we're going to do. Just get this one centered, and I'm going to put it back to its 1.1 size. Just back it up just enough where the walls are not poking through. Alright, so that should be good. Looks okay. Let's turn the ceiling back on there. Hit play and see if everything looks good. Okay, so that was the original. This is the one here that we just added. Again, this is going to be our main town, our little market area. We'll have some merchants here. So yeah, this looks better. Nothing sticking out. That's probably fine. And then we'll leave it at that. I thought I could actually change out the base floor. But if I scale that, because all these are Chala, I'm going to scale the entire thing, so it's not. I'm not going to be able to just easily increase the size of the floor without affecting everything else. The only way I can do that is by removing all these child items outside of there. But that's fine. We're going to leave it the way it is. We'll look at cleaning stuff up later. We just want to get a mock-up thing going here and get something we can start building upon. Actually, one way that I could, let's see. Yeah, let's add a, if I really wanted to, I could add a plane to the location A outside Traders Village, and the Traders Village game object, and then rather than Traders Village being, having that as the floor, see, I could lower it down to 0. Just like that. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, so Traders Village is separate, actually. Wait a minute. Yeah, we got to leave that as a 1. What I was getting at is the scaling factor here. See, if we went to 20, see, it automatically scales everything up. The entire yard gets bigger, but it's not really the effect I wanted. I wanted to keep the base separate from this. So what I'm going to do is set that back to 12. 12. Whoops. So I'll add another, create an empty. This will be the, let's call it main floor. So it's right there, and so let's make it got a plane mesh collider. Okay. So we're going to add a component, physics 2D, a plane. Whoops. Actually, I'm going to do this. 3D object plane. And actually, the main floor, I don't want it to be. Yeah, I do want it as a child of that. So I'm going to make this actually 12 by 12. And then take all these objects. Let's delete this. Just need to go as a child of the main floor. Crap. How's that breaking the prefab instance? So now that they're on main floor, if I were to scale this down, so I can scale it separately from the entire thing. So that's kind of what I wanted. One. Oh crap. Actually. Okay, Trader's Village is not going to have anything here, so let's turn off that. Let's turn off that. That's just going to be our game object, more or less. Trader's Village, that's all it should be. So let's remove that component. Hopefully we're not messing everything up. Remove. Okay, so we just have our transform, it's our location. Actually, these needed to stay under Traders Village. Because the main floor needs to be its own. On the main floor, we'll get a actually, we're going to add a to the main floor. We need to add a, let's see, add a 3D object, the plane, which, see, then we can resize this to so we could resize it smaller. I don't really want it much bigger, so let's look at from this perspective here. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's kind of, I guess it fits within there, but I need to center that somehow. It's offset for some reason. Yeah, actually, I want to move this in the main floor here. Yeah, it's a child object, and then that's the location of that. This I can probably zero out. Yeah. Okay, so now we have it as the main floor, separate from those, and it has the plane. So maybe we just need to move the X, let's see, 0.1 into Z, 0.1. Let's make that 0.2, and let's see what happens. 0.2. Just eyeballing it. I mean, I don't need to get up close. I just want to make sure got enough coverage. Z, we could probably do negative 0.2. So let's check that. Maybe too much. Yeah. We're gonna have to only go 1.5. Okay. Okay, so now we can apply the default material, which was our, well, we need something for a wall. Can't remember the name of the material I had here, so I'm gonna have to just manually look for it. Do we want a granite? I don't know. Granite 2. But we do want a granite. Look. But we're gonna have to change the tiling in that to 10 by 10. I'm gonna play around with the tiling into it. I'm trying to eliminate some of these where you see these lines. That's what I'm looking for. But I want to give it the more tiling, the higher the tiling number, the better the quality of the way it looks. But I don't know if I want to use this granite actually. Kind of, I wish I could find the one I had. So let's. Have a gold floor. Fabric. Bag. Dark iron. Kind of want something like dirt. I mean, dirt. I don't know. Should we make it a grass-like? Maybe a different kind of grass. Higher quality grass. What do you think? Tiling is set to 150 by default. Let's see. See what that looks like. See what that looks like here. Up close. may just do 50 and 50, but I'm also thinking about resizing our plane. Actually, now that I think about it, I kind of want. I'm gonna bring it in where it's kind of lined up with the wall, maybe halfway. I don't really know. Maybe do halfway. So we're gonna do 0.9, maybe 5, 4. All right, so we kind of keep it within the confines of the here. Of course, it's sticking out over there. It's sticking out over there. Sticking out there. Why is that? So we can shrink that. Alright, so let's get the X right. I think we just slide that over a little bit. So the position, let's see if we go 1, which way does it go? The other way? Yeah, we might not have to do this. The corrections then. It looks like, yeah, it looks like it's pretty much centered right there. Let's check that out. Yeah, so this stream is, there's really no programming right now. This is all just designing this environment. Alright, so we got it, yeah, about halfway. That's what I wanted. Let's check each entryway. Gives it a nice indoor side kind of look and feel to me when I'm running into here, to be honest with you. Feels like indoor side. Not feels, but just the sensation, the visual sensation is of like an indoor grassy area, like in a courtyard inside. I'd like to be able to improve the quality of the grass that's out there on the texture, the main thing, because that looks like crap. Actually, it's, you can tell it's stretched quite a bit. Could be the quality of it. Might need to change that a little bit. Anyway, so yeah, we've got a good starting point here. I'm going to end the session here since we have this built. And so I'll continue to work on this and add some things, and we'll continue building this up, and I'll show you the progress, and we'll add some more things as we go, but I kind of want to set some other little buildings inside here, shops you can go into, and make this like a little village or a town. So anyway, thanks for stopping out, and we'll keep going with this, with our progress. Let's say we probably could move. I'd like to have this. Should I have it set back? I don't know if I should set it back more. You know, we have this big platform. Should I move it up, set it back? There's going to be other things set up out here. I don't know yet. anyways, now that we have a little Trader's Village layout set up, let's do location A, and let's so now we can move the entire structure just like that. Everything will move with it in reference to its parent object. We'll just kind of center that. And then our player spawn A, let's see, where is he at? Yeah, so we'll make him spawn right at the top of the hill here. Move that there. Just hit play just to see how far of a distance is that. So yeah, when you look, yeah, so that's where it's at in the distance. So we could expand this later on, but this time consuming doing this. So I would like to work on this. Will be the main area we'll be working out of from now on. We'll get this built up. This is going to be the main trader village, and there may be a place like a bed and breakfast and that kind of stuff. So let's see what we've got going on here. Everything was fine except for that one has a gap here now. And let me see what we have here. Now I got to fix that. I can't really end the stream without fixing that. So let's click on our location A. Let's zoom in. That was over here in this corner. Can't really tell that there's a gap. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so let's plug down into our trader village. Got our main floor is good. Door shop round, that's this one here. Did we scale it up? Yeah, we had to scale it up too, which was kind of odd. See if we can just move that maybe to correct that situation without having to rescale it. And let's do this. I actually did find that's definitely easier to just remove the ceiling. Kind of peek in real quick. That may be something like during the, if it had a lower ceiling, you could make a ceiling disappear so the camera doesn't get obstructed when, you know, when a player walks into a building. If the camera is really low, it'll be looking at the ceiling and you won't be able to see your player. I could remove the ceiling temporarily by setting that up. That's an active or inactive property. Just flip it with a switch, true or false, and it either disables rendering of that component or enables it. So anyways, what we're looking at is to make sure nothing is protruding. Oops. Edit, undo, move. And I've got a cute little kitten here that's crawling up my leg. She's so sweet. But she's tearing up my leg. Let me finish this. Okay, babies? Okay. They're trying to get to the microphone cable. It's blue. It's easy to see, and they're trying to eat it. Alright, so let's hover over here. That's good. We need to move that over just a wee bit. Actually, this way. Again, I did it. Edit, undo, move. I need to make sure I'm selecting the entire shop. So if we go there, that comes through. Let's rotate here. Let's see what we have. That's just barely poking through. It's poking through a little bit more. And so let's back that off just to here. Let's see how that looks. It's about halfway through there. what I'm looking at is, see the wall. If you look here, about halfway across here is where it stops penetrating this wall. Just want to even it out on both sides. I get kind of, even though it don't matter. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things that's gonna bug me if I don't get it close to looking, somewhat the same. So that's there. That's there. Okay, so now we're good. Let's turn the ceiling back on. Let's hit play. Let's just do a quick run through before we call it. So here we go. Okay, nothing's showing through. That's what I wanted to check for. Let's go to the outside, and also our third-party controllers. If you're just tuning in, you haven't seen a few of our sessions. We did switch out the third-person controller as well as the character himself. Instead of using the default one that looked like the Tin Man that came with Unity, this one has a nice rotation. You can not hit any keys. You do a full 360-degree rotation, plus you can look up and down on your character. So, and then when you use the arrow keys, you go forward, you start pressing the right, AWSD, you can, if I just do that, you can kind of turn, but it's not a full turn. It's more, you kind of moving that way, but you're only moving 45 degrees from going straight. So you got to use it's a camera assisted move. But if you move too fast, of course, you're going to just rotate around your character. So it's something you got to get used to. Does a little jump. And this is out of the box what he does. I may tweak things later on, but right now he's good the way he is. So I think we're looking good. I think all our seams are good. It seems to be from this distance. We're good, we're good, we're good. Yeah, it's a good sized area to actually build. If you look around, we're somewhat in the center here, and it's going to be a good size plot to do some stuff with. I would like to have a nice centerpiece in here so you can easily see it. From the distance. Alright, so let's save our scene now that we know we have that good. And let's zoom out. So what I was referring to, like, I'd like to have, when you're like way over here, I would like to be able to have some kind of thing in the distance that you can see, some really tall structure where you know something is out there, but you can't quite tell exactly what it is, but it would render, in the distance. So let's see what our terrain. The seafloor. I was just wondering if the terrain could be changed from a square to a rectangular. Okay, that's the seafloor. Oh, I did that as a plane. See, the water actually goes round. I wonder if I could change that. From a plane to a cylinder. What does that do? Freer. Capsule. Plane. Probably not. I'll fool with that later. I just don't like the way that doesn't. Let's go 1,000 out. And then our water, let's see. What's our water spawn? It's already scaled up pretty big, but let's. We have to do 10,000. See how that affects our performance. Just want. I probably just need to. What I need to do is just put some structures. So when you're off here on these ledges, you can still see, even though there's a skybox. I know what it is. It's the clipping view. There's our little structure spawning down there. We can see it from here. So we can't see it from here. Like I said, if we had a flagpole or something just to indicate home base. Yeah, I took away all the trees so you can actually see the terrain. And I can see where the rough spots are. I think I just realized what's causing that issue there is the let's do with the camera rendering. So when I look at let's go to our prefabs. Let's see, platform. Where's my prefab resources? Player. Okay, so let's look at his camera. So his far clipping plane is 1,000. So let's just set that out to 5,000. It may really slow down our. Let's see. Yeah, I can see a difference already without really any frame loss. Okay, you see in the distance now we can see it's actually rendering a lot further. What happened is it was clipping out. There was a clipping plane set for that rendering distance. The maximum was only set to 1,000. So no matter how far out I put the water or whatever else. And again, I don't necessarily need to do that. What I want to do is like to be able to bring that in closer. And so maybe I can, now that that's all done. The clipping was what was wrong in the camera, or the render distance. So let's go back here. Let's go back to our seafloor. And set that to 1,000. And that might even be, let's hit Y, let's zoom out. Because we don't, let's go 300. So 300 by 300, and then the island is based on, I think, because of the seafloor. I'm sorry, no, the water spawn. Let's go 1,000. Oops. So we want our water actually a little bigger than that, so 1,500 maybe. 1,500. so, oh, the other thing, I know what it is. We don't, I probably never set, yeah, clear flags, skybox. So I don't probably need to set that far to 5,000. Now it's going beyond what we have. So that's how we control that. I guess I'm just trying to figure this out. Let's go back to that 1,000. See how that looks. I don't know. So maybe we need to leave it that way. Who knows? Um, just set that to 2,000. Yeah, so we definitely have to change all that back. So that was just a waste of time. Um, that's probably fine. That's the way it was. Let's go back to the seafloor. And then I don't think that even matters. Okay. And then island, just a 1-to-1. Let's see. All right, so that's probably what we need to do there. Let's see what we got now. All right, so it's a combination of several things, and then but I don't really want the rendering distance to. I mean, we don't want to be rendering so far out. That's just kind of odd. Clipping planes. Because I believe that's going to affect our frame rate. I mean, right now it doesn't seem to affect it, but as we have a bunch of stuff rendering in, so that's probably better. It makes it look more like you're definitely on an island and there's no horizons far away. Yeah, so let's leave it at that. If you missed our last episode as well, we've been mapping out some just some painted some sort of trails, I'd call it, kind of the dirt trails to let the player know kind of where they can be going, where there's certain areas, that leads to certain areas that we're going to develop. This being one of them when you come up this hill here. So just for poops and giggles, let's zoom in here. I'm going to zoom into our area here. It gets to a point where it doesn't want to zoom, like it takes forever. What I'm actually doing is just gonna plant some trees here and see if even a few trees, because like if you recall, if you watched our last stream, we removed all the trees altogether. So it's the only tree we have right now. And so in order to place a tree, paint trees, click to paint trees. So we want to change the brush size, of course, down to 1. And so it'll let us just let's undo that. That's a little too close, I think. I didn't think it was going to do it that big. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. So what I'm wanting to find out is, even with these a few trees here, it's going to cause issues with the frame rate. So if you recall, we had a major issue. We dropped our frames down to like 8 to 10 from our steady 60. So we're at 40, 42. It's kind of hard to tell. I'll have to, when I get off stream, look at it, but it's showing 32 right now, 38, 32, 42. It's fluctuating. Whoops, I thought our game locked up there. So we have some trees here, just a few trees. Let's see. I don't really know what brush size this thing goes by. Because there was something here, now there isn't. So. Maybe because I was zoomed out more. Let's see. Yeah. Brush size 1, brush size 1, brush size 1, brush size 1. Fine, everything's brush size 1. So should be able to just click to do this tree. There we go. That's where the brush size was. Why is it going back to 40? I guess that's the default. let's just put some along the path here. Have some along the edge here too. Yeah, see it even dropped. You can see it already. 26. It only dropped in a few trees there, and it's already messing up pretty bad. Could be also because it's doing it in real time in the editor here. I'm assuming that once we compile the program and create it, since the trees are pretty much stationary, that it will calculate some things that will improve that. Yeah, so that's that. All right, so we're gonna call it right here. So what I need to do is get a screenshot here real quick, but we are gonna call it. Let's get inside here. And we're going to do this screenshot right here. I'm going to print screen. Inventory. Give me just a second here. I need to paste this into Paint here. All right. File. Save. Send. Untitled. All right, so I've got that saved there. Just like to do a custom thumbnail and do some screenshots occasionally that I save from the game. So anyway, yeah, thanks for stopping out. Definitely subscribe if you want to see me come back online again. We're going to continue to develop this area and build it into a nice little trader village and start putting in, we'll have some spawn locations, so it'll start spawning items that can be collected in certain areas. But mainly it'll be, shops, and eventually it'll be shops and things like that. But I think this will be an area where you can collect items as well. I call it Trader's Village, but we'll probably just have one merchant in there, somewhere in the center. But there'll be items you can pick up in and around that area, and then swap it out with them. Either trade it, sell it for gold, or purchase items that are in there from the shop. Which initially the shop will get items from what players are selling to him, and it'll just be a perpetual inventory that he gets. But again, that's down the road. Got to be able to integrate a perpetual inventory system for our player. Once we have that ability, we'll adapt that to where it can be tacked on to an AI player as well, so they can have their own inventory system. So yeah, we'll call it at that. We made a little bit of progress. You can see the direction we're going in with this. Trying to, right now, the next few streams are not going to be about coding. It's going to be about building our area here. This call it Trader Village, but it's like a little castle village, and we'll have some things in there. So thanks again for stopping out. Like I said, subscribe. Type any comments, questions you might have. If you have a better way for me to be doing some of this, you know more than I do, and you're watching out there, definitely post a comment on this video, and I'll go back and read it. Until then, we'll see you on the next stream. Thank you.